D. Mace Vin Gindendonic 1025 1063 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, David Janes here with you. We have absolutely no idea where Willie Donick is. I wish I was joking.
We need a Willie Donick alert.
We need a Donick alert.
A Willie Donick alert. Here's
There
Willie.
he is.
Here
I
he
hear
comes.
his voice. I hear Willie's voice.
There he is.
Oh, dapper.
Willie Donick. Showing up.
Hey, Willie. Hey, man, listen, Willie flies out pretty soon here.
Willie will only be with us for one segment today.
That's dedication, though. That is true dedication.
Yes.
Because he didn't have to. He could have said, fellas, we take off at this time. I don't have, I got to do this. I got to make sure I look clean and presentable when I get on the plane. I like your suit too, Willie. It's nice. I like the blue and the black. I like it with the sweater underneath.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I like it. But Willie, he came in. That's dedication, my brother.
Did.
Well, thank you.
And he got a nice shave on his beard. There you go.
Yeah, Willie's looking dapper for his one segment today. The reason why is because Willie will be departing with the Nashville Predators shortly. They head to the Big Apple for a back-to-back this weekend against the Islanders tomorrow and the Rangers on Sunday before finishing off this road trip in Boston on Tuesday. But we're glad Willie is here because we did want to talk some Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators defeat the Winnipeg Jets 2-1 last night, snapping the Winnipeg Jets' 11-game winning streak. Here's a fun fact for you guys. Mm-hmm. Did you know that Winnipeg's 11-game run is the longest winning streak that the Predators have ever snapped?
Oh, that's
outside of their own.
I suppose. The previous record was an 8-game run by the Red Wings in 2005-2006.
Wow.
So the Winnipeg Jets, their 11-game winning streak comes to an end in Nashville. The Jets have not had much success in Nashville this season, but an impressive win for the Predators last night. UC Saros played well, stole that game for the Predators. And they head off on this road trip with some mojo. Good for them.
Yeah, that was a good win. They played gutsy, as you mentioned. Saros played really well. That's a pair of 2-1 wins since the break. So he's played well. And in the game that he lost against Florida, it was still a quality performance, a quality start by definition for Sportlogic. But it was just a good feeling. I thought with the Hockey Fights Cancer, I commend the fans, right? That was the 4th home game in 6 days. Sometimes you see some fatigue in the crowd. It's hard not to, especially when the team is struggling. But the fans that came out last night, I thought were a big factor. The Predators killed off a 5-on-3 in the second period, and they really got behind the team there. And you just had a sense that they were going to pull the upset. So it's a good confidence boost. They need something like that. And now they go on the road where they haven't really had any success at all. That's the next thing that they hope to maybe get fixed to feel better. That's the main goal that Andrew Brunette has said. Let's have a better feeling about the direction of things by the end of the season.
By the way, the Winnipeg Jets averaged 4 goals per game during their 11-game winning streak. UC Saros makes 23 saves on 24 shots, holding the Jets to just 1 goal last
And
night.
it was not just the number of shots, right? Sometimes you hear, well, he made 40 saves. In this day and age, this is another thing to keep an eye on. We talked about this too in terms of save percentage. Teams don't shoot as much unless you have a quality shot. And if you look at the analytics of the quality that the Jets got last night, especially, I thought the Predators did a pretty good job defensively, given they didn't have Roman Josi. They've got some guys in there that are trying to punch above their weight in terms of the role that they should be playing. But the Predators still gave up, what was it, Adam, maybe 3.5 expected goals. There was a lot of quality in what Winnipeg got. You can't stop them, right? They're going to get their chances. But Saros, I don't think the 23 out of 24 even explains how well he played.
I mean, that third period was he single-handedly kept them. He won that game for him in the third period, the way he played in net. But then if you just look at it overall, you had the best power play team coming in, and you neutralized them. They were 0 for 4 on the power play. if you're gonna have a chance to win, that's where you got to stop the Jets in their power play. And the Nashville Predators were able to do that. You had my man Novak got him a goal back on, but I think they did a really good job at sort of dictating the play most of the night. What I'm concerned about is this. There were times when they were on the offensive end of the ice, and Stamkos just kept passing up shot after shot after shot. It was like he was trying to get the perfect pass to the guy to make his. Well, no, you shoot it. I think even you guys, you and Mace, was saying, like, okay, there's a shot. Are you going to shoot the ball, or are you going to continue to pass? It's almost like a basketball team. Like, you see some teams that they may have good ball movement, and then at the end of the shot clock, they shoot it and they don't get a good shot. It's like y'all had several good shots, but y'all passed it up. Why? Because it seems like you want to be so team oriented that you want to move the ball around the court or around the perimeter. Whereas if you got an open shot, take it if you are one of those type shooters. And I felt in the third period, they had a lot of opportunity. It might have been toward that second into the third. They had a lot of opportunities on their offensive side of the ice where they just was passing the puck instead of shooting the puck.
Willie, to answer your previous question about the shot quality for the Jets, they had 24 shots on goal, 16 from the slot. The Jets had a 17-9 advantage in high danger scoring chances last night.
Right. So, and from the slot, for people that don't follow the analytics, this is what we try to teach you on the show. The slot is where you get the goals. That's where most of the goals are scored. And they did get their share of chances from the slot. Now, I think you make a good point, D-Mace, on Stamkos. He had one shot on goal, one shot attempt that missed the net. And he's just a guy that they've got to find ways to get him shots more. And I agree. I think he should be a little more hungry for shots. I do think that's been a theme for his season, is his shot volume is down. We've been tracking it based on his career. And so the number of times he's getting looks, getting shot attempts is down. I don't know that it's always him passing up a shot. I think he's trying to do the right thing. But so that part of it is they've got to get him in positions where he can use that shot. So that is still a work in progress here. Stamkos continues to be in a drought right now. They've got to find some offense here from those guys.
Wes from Hermitage is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Wes, it says here you have a message for Willie. Go ahead.
Oh, Willie, great call last night, man. I love listening to you call these games. I've been very, very critical on Saros, but I felt like since any time he has a terrible game, I have to let you know about it. It's only right whenever I call in to tell you how good he looked last night. And it wasn't just Saros. I can't remember who it was. Somebody on the Preds got really, really just like beat up against the wall. And you could tell he was shaken up a bit. And whenever he gets ready to skate back on the other side of the ice, he's got his head down, and he was just upset about the fact that he just got mollywopped into the wall. And then he saw a teammate come over and just, melee the guy that laid him out, and it immediately energized him, and he like picked up 3 times the amount of speed. Last night, they were just playing for each other, and they looked great. Forsberg had that goal last night, and I was trying to say that was a nice goal, and that's a nasty goal, and somehow came up with a new word and combined the two because of how crazy that goal. I just didn't see it coming. I just wanted to say the Preds, they really, really looked great last night. I just don't understand why they always seem to look the best when Yossi isn't in there. And it's starting to be a little concerning. But other than that, man, Saros played great call. Forsberg looked good. They all looked pretty good last night. I just wonder why they can't put it together when Yossi's on the ice.
Thanks for the call, Wes.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm seeing that. I would be the first to say that I don't think this has been a good season for Roman Josi. It's been frustrating. I think he's been banged up. I don't think let's see it happen for more than one game.
What was the play he was referring to about the player getting?
I'm not sure. I'm not thinking of it in my mind as he said it. But I think I agree with what he said. The guys really played hard last night. They got the early goal. I think if they can feel like they're in the game, I do think they have a sense of, hey, let's play for each other. When they get behind, I think at this time of the season, when they're out of it, that's when you might see some sag. But I think they really played hard last night and wanted to find a way to end that winning streak.
So we are 1 week out from the NHL trade deadline. A week from today, March 7th, is the NHL trade deadline. Interesting conversation, as always, yesterday with Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, and we asked him about the Predators trade deadline plans. He started our conversation by bringing up the center market around the league. He brought up Michael McCarron, who we've discussed. He also brought up Colton Sissons. Now, we went through my ideal Predators trade deadline. I want to say it was earlier this week, and I mentioned test the market for Colton Sissons. But that was the first time I've heard Elliot mention Colton Sissons as a potential trade chip for the Predators. I do think that would be interesting. He made a point, Willie, that I kind of feel bad that I also didn't realize. But one thing about Colton Sissons, in the final season of his contract next season, his actual salary is lower than his cap hit. His cap hit is a shade under $3 million. If I recall correctly, his salary is under $2 million next season. So if that matters to a team in terms of the actual cash you have to pay a player, perhaps that can make Colton Sissons more valuable to a team within the next week.
There were 13 scouts there last night from other teams. They weren't all watching Nashville, but I think to a large degree, they're watching guys like Colton Sissons and Michael McCarron and other pieces.
Gus Nyquist, of course.
Sissons, I thought, showed why he's a winning player, why he's a valuable player. He can play anywhere in your lineup. So he started off on the second line. As the game went on and Nashville was in the lead, he moves on to more of a checking line with McCarron and Smith. One of the huge stats in the game last night, it's not that they totally shut him down, but Mark Scheifele and the top line for the Jets, largely up against Ryan O'Reilly's line, but secondarily, McCarron, Sissons, Smith, they got no points last night. And that is really hard to do. You just mentioned Winnipeg's the third highest scoring team in the league. Scheifele and Kyle Connor. And by the way, Kyle Connor had like 15 shot attempts last night. It's not like they kept him from getting looks. But that is no easy feat doing what they did. So Sissons is a valuable guy. This is what Barry Trotz has to weigh. If it's a fourth-round pick, and we know the Predators are loaded with draft picks, let's just say it's a fourth-rounder, maybe a conditional third-rounder, something like that. Is that more valuable to the franchise? What would we say the probability of getting an NHL player? Like you might hit on a third-rounder. UC Saros was a fourth-rounder, right? Or third-rounder. You could hit on a great player with that. But the odds of that aren't real high. So what's the value of that pick versus keeping the steady veteran for one more year? If your mindset is next year you'd like to be a winning team.
Right.
I think these are the questions for Barry Trotz.
Right. I said this when we discussed my trade deadline plan. The Predators should not give away Colton Sissons. Just because a team wants Colton Sissons doesn't mean the Predators have to trade Colton Sissons. If a team is willing to pony up for Colton Sissons in a way that Barry Trotz does not expect, then you should consider it. This is different than, say, Gus Nyquist, where it's just take whatever you can get for Gus Nyquist. He's an unrestricted free agent. He's not going to be part of this team's plans moving forward. If you get a fifth-round pick for Gus Nyquist, if that's the best you can do it. Colton Sissons, you do not have to do that. So
right.
That's what I would say on that front.
And it would be different, I think, if the team was moving in the direction of, hey, we're going to take a few steps back to go to the step forward. But I think Barry Trotz continues to believe that, and remember, he said he took some of the veterans aside and said, here's my plan. And I think the plan is to have a bounce back season next year. So if that's the case, then you want to consider Colton Sissons and the role he would play for next year's team. Same thing with Michael McCarron. So I agree. It's different for Gus Nyquist, who is a free agent at the end of the year, and you're hard-pressed to see him coming back to the Predators. I think that was a good night for Nyquist last night because he's part of the Nyquist, O'Reilly, Forsberg going head-to-head with Mark Scheifele's line. You see where Nyquist could be valuable beyond his lack of scoring this year. He hasn't scored as much as he probably wanted to or should, but at the same time, he's a heady player that does a lot of things. For example, with Yossi out of the lineup, he becomes the head of the top power play. So he does a lot of little things that scouts will notice, other teams will notice. So he may be more valuable than his numbers would suggest. So I think that's what a lot of these scouts are watching closely is where would a Nyquist fit on a team that's trying to make a run?
Willie, I know you've got a jet, literally.
When you're a Jet, you're a Jet.
The Predators are back in action. Some morning hockey for us here in Nashville. The Predators take on the New York Islanders at 12:30 Eastern, which means 11:30 here in Nashville. So some brunch time hockey for Predators fans tomorrow as the Predators take on the Islanders at 11:30. They play the Rangers on Sunday at Madison Square Garden. They play the Bruins on Tuesday at TD Garden. 615-737-1025. By the way, Chuck on our text line says it was Marchessault getting hit and then McCarron backing him up.
Yes. Okay, now I know the play you're talking about. Yeah, Marchessault was going after a loose puck.
Mm-hmm.
Got hit by Josh Morrissey.
And then
Marchessault gets up. He's like, hey, what just happened? And then Morrissey went to get his stick, played the puck, and
got rammed.
He
deserved it.
Michael McCarron, he rocked him pretty good. And then to his credit, Morrissey got up, went down, and took the next shot all the way on the other side of the ice. So it was a good feisty battle. That's what it's all about.
615-737-1025. The Predators are back in action tomorrow again. An 11:30 Central a.m. puck drop. Predators at Islanders. Jalen Carey, Vanderbilt basketball forward, will join us at noon. Looking forward to talking to Jalen Carey. Of course, Ask D-Mace at 12:30, as we do every Friday. Take it to the bank at the end of the show. Any thoughts on the Predators, the upcoming NHL trade deadline? 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we heard from Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward at the NFL Combine today. We'll play some of those clips and discuss them. Coming up next, tune in later today to 102.5, 106.3 The Game for Vanderbilt baseball as the Commodores take on UCLA in the Southern California College Baseball Classic. Pregame begins at 6:45 p.m. First pitch is at 7. Coverage also available on the 102.5 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com.
All right, let's talk F&M Bank. Later in the show, we will take it to the bank. Banking made easy on purpose. 145. I've got to get my picks in, by the way, for the Take It to the Bank. We always have some fun, and we appreciate their sponsorship. Also, their clients, the customers at F&M Bank, appreciate the fact that their motto is banking made easy on purpose. They want to get right in your community and make your life easier in so many different ways. If you're a business owner, your business means more to them. Small business especially. They really hone in on those. Also, if you're looking for ways to save money, they've got things like the Smart Swipe debit card that's going to round up to the nearest dollar, and automatically they're going to take that extra change and over time build up your savings account. Great little tool. Simple stuff. Banking made easy on purpose. Just find the nearest location to you, myfmbank.com. 20 locations in our area going all the way up to Hopkinsville, Kentucky. 6 in Clarksville. And, of course, right in the heart of Nashville, West End Avenue, Murfreesboro, Mount Juliet, Springfield. myfmbank.com. It's F&M Bank. We take it to the bank at 145.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie's still here, but he's about to leave. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan.
Yeah, we're kicking him out.
Yes. Get out of here, Willie. What are you still doing here? You got a flight to catch.
Exactly.
And they will not wait for you. We love you.
They will wait for UC Saros.
Yes.
They will not wait for the announcer.
No.
That's for sure. I got to be on time.
They'll find somebody else to call the game.
See you, Willie.
Or you'll have to get on one of those Chinatown buses I used to take to New York all the time.
There you go. You got to make it somehow, Willie, and you better make it before tomorrow.
Unfortunately, we don't have any Chinatown buses here because we don't have a Chinatown.
No.
But Willie is off. The Predators are back in action tomorrow again, an 11:30 a.m. start time. Predators and Islanders. So, Derek,
Yes.
we heard from Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward today at the NFL Combine. It appears the NFL scheduled them to speak at the same time, which I find to be kind of odd. But nevertheless, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward addressed reporters at the NFL Combine. A lot of interesting comments from Shedeur Sanders in particular. We have a smorgasbord, I guess you could say, of Shedeur Sanders, a Shedeur smorgasbord. I like that.
Me too.
So here's the first clip from Shedeur Sanders from today, talking about the perception that maybe he's not one of the top quarterbacks in the draft.
Yeah, it's easy meeting with people because I'm going to just be myself. So it's like you either like it or you don't. Because I've done it at 2 locations already. So it's simple. So that's why when people say I'm not, one of the top quarterbacks or the top quarterback, is what are y'all going based off of? Because I did it year after year after year, and you see the progression. So it's like, obviously, it got to be some type of external hate that you have for the family, for the last name, for anything, because I know I proved myself on the field. Yeah.
That was Shedeur Sanders talking about the perception that he may not be worthy of a top pick in the NFL draft. And if there's one thing that we know, Derek, about the Sanders family, they do not lack for confidence. But we talked about this the other day. Shedeur Sanders is what is known these days as a Nepo baby. He can't help who his dad is.
No.
But while that opens doors for Shedeur Sanders that maybe would not have been opened otherwise, he still had to prove himself that he was worthy of the opportunities he was given. But because his last name is Sanders and everything that's happened with Colorado over the past couple of years and the whole Coach Prime thing, I think he has to work extra hard to disprove this notion that he is not worthy of being a top pick in the NFL draft. Here's another thing that Shedeur Sanders said today, talking about being the ultimate cheat code.
No, it's extremely important to keep your mental in the best place because that's what my game is played. My game's not played from my legs and not even just my arm. So I know longevity, the all-time greats, what's Tom Brady's best trait? His mental. He's able to think. So if you have those traits of greatness and I know where I'm heading, then why wouldn't the franchise pick me? You got the ultimate cheat code.
What do you make of some of those comments from Shedeur Sanders today, Derek?
The only comment I didn't sort of kind of rubbed me the wrong way is when he said it's easy. No, it's not easy. Even though you might have made it look easy, it's not easy. And see, I think this is what happens a lot of time in our society is that we only see the end product. So we think, it's easy. Shedeur Sanders know what he did wasn't easy. Him going to Jackson State, them turning that program around, and then taking that whole program and then that whole system and then bringing it to a program that was in the dumps. And then, doing enough, playing well enough that program has had success now over the last couple of years. Listen, did they win a national championship? No. Did they win the Big 12? No. But where Colorado was to where they're at now is night and day, and no one can deny that. And a part of that is because Shedeur Sanders was their quarterback and Travis Hunter was their receiver / defensive back. And they had some other really good players on that team. So that's the only part that I sort of take
umbrage with.
Yeah, umbrage with, is that he knows it's not easy. I know it's not easy. And when people listen to him, they know, man, it wasn't easy. Even though you made it look easy, in a sense, it wasn't easy. Because y'all had to go through a lot of stuff to get to that point. He should have used that. He should have used that as his superpower. Listen, I went from Jackson State to Colorado. Colorado, their program was at the base, in the basement. And through hard work and my dedication, it ain't easy, but I put in the work, and look at what we were able to accomplish. Again, they didn't win a national championship, but nobody in their mind thought that Colorado would be able to turn around that program the way they did. Nobody. People thought they were going to be even further sort of in debt, in a sense, football debt, when Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders and everybody got there. But they were not. That part isn't easy. He should have leaned into that more instead of saying it was easy. It's easy. That's the only statement I take umbrage with, is that him saying it's easy. Now that other stuff, I want my confidence. See, here's another thing, Adam, is that in today's sporting world, there's this fine line between being confident and being cocky. If they don't like you, you're being cocky. If they love you, you're being confident. But don't be confident too much, because then they will hate you, i.e. Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is confident, what he says. But no, you want too many championships, you can't be confident. You just can't be. You're bragging now. You're not being humble. No, this young man, let him, if he want to come out with that bravado, then so be it. Why? Because he believes in himself. I think sometimes we tell our kids to diminish their light. Diminish your light, because we don't want you to say or make it seem as if you're better than everyone. Well, damn it, he is. That's why you're in the talks of being in the top 5 or 10 picks. Why? Because you're just about better than everybody else. So when you come out and you say those things, I don't have a problem with it. Just back it up. That's all. In the interview, Adam, when you go to the interview and you walk into that room, you don't walk in there and say, well, yes, sir. Yeah, ma'am. I just, I think I could do an okay job. I mean, I've been here. No, you walk in there with your chest out, your chin up, like, okay, these are the things that I can bring to your company. Look at what I did with the last company. That's why y'all got me in the seat, because y'all love what I did with the last company. Y'all are intrigued. How did you do that? Lean into that. But we don't want kids to do that. Don't talk about yourself too much. Don't do it. Well, why not? I'm trying to sell myself. Nobody can explain that to me.
I'll have to go back and listen to that clip. But when he said it was easy, I believe he was referring to his meetings with teams, because he's just going to be himself. And it's either you like it or you don't. And I like that confidence. You don't want to change who you are to impress people, because if a team is going to draft, a team is going to draft, not if, a team is going to draft Shedeur Sanders. And part of the reason why a team is going to draft Shedeur Sanders is because of his confidence, his bravado. And they are hoping that translates onto on-field success. You mentioned him turning around Colorado. This was a clip from Shedeur Sanders discussing the work he did at Jackson State, the work he did at Colorado, and what that could mean for NFL teams. The Jackson State clip, David, if you have it.
6 different OCs, so I'm able to adjust to any offense and every scheme and make it work. We went from Jackson State to Colorado and changed 2 programs back to back. So you don't think I could come to an NFL franchise and change the program again? It's history. We done it again. It's always gonna repeat itself. I've been through 6 different OCs.
That was Shedeur Sanders discussing what he was able to do at Jackson State, what he was able to do at Colorado, and saying, you don't think I can do that in the NFL? Now, it's a much tougher task at the NFL level, Derek. But again, I can't fault Shedeur Sanders for being confident.
No.
And do I want him to be the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans? I'm not sure, but it's not because of his personality. I'm wondering how well his game will translate to the NFL level, which is why you tend to see on big boards his name not near the top. But for me, I like a quarterback with confidence. You want a quarterback with confidence. Now, you could also say that sometimes confidence can be misplaced. And I think we saw that to an extent with Will Levis. Will Levis wasn't as brash, I guess you could say, as Shedeur Sanders, but you could tell that Will Levis came in with that confidence. And sometimes the confidence, as I said, is misplaced. And that confidence did not translate well for Will Levis. And at one point during the season, if I recall correctly, he was talking about the loss of confidence. So things can change quickly in the NFL. But I do not knock Shedeur Sanders for having the self-assurance that he has.
Yeah, I don't knock him for that. And again, you know, everything that he said, that it's just words right now. And what I want to see, and I'm sure a lot of GMs want to see, is all right, just go prove it. Now that you said, I have no problem with you saying it. But I think people like, why would you have a problem with a guy saying he's confident in what he's doing? I'm confident in my job. That I'm so confident that I know that I could go in and get the job done. Why? Because I did it before. We only talk about our past history, like our past. We only talk about that. We base everything on what we sort of did in the past in regards to what we can do in the future. Okay. I know that I had 1,000 yards in the past, so I can do it in the future. I've seen it. I've gone up against the best defensive backs last year. I know I can do it now. It's all about confidence. I don't know I can do it until I actually do it. My first year in the NFL, I felt I can play in the NFL. I had a lot of confidence, but I didn't know I can do it until I actually did it. And when I did it, I stood on it. Shedeur is he's going by his past, what he did at Jackson State, what he was able to do at Colorado, what other people, why wouldn't he think? I was able to do it there. They didn't have much of a program. I was able to do it at Division I. They didn't have a Power 5 conference. They didn't have much of the program. Why wouldn't I be able to do it at the next level? But he understands also that it takes more than him. He understands that. So anybody that wants to hate on Shedeur Sanders for what he said, I mean, are you truly a football person or not? Or are you just nitpicking at an individual because you do not like him for whatever reason?
615-737-1025. Your thoughts on what you heard from Shedeur Sanders today at the NFL Combine. 615-737-1025. We'll continue the conversation. We also heard from Cam Ward, and he talked about his meeting with the Tennessee Titans. We'll play that next. Hey, NFL fans, since we're talking about the NFL Combine, tune in for NFL Combine updates all this week on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by thenewcumberland.com and Boom Boss Pizza. Thenewcumberland.com, Nashville's resort-style community overlooking downtown on the Cumberland River. Go to their website at thenewcumberland.com. And Boom Boss, go try their award-winning pizzas at one of their locations in East Nashville, Spring Hill, and Murfreesboro. Boom Boss Pizza and Watch Bar. Eat, drink, watch.
Yeah. That's the plan. If that's not what you're trying to do, don't get me. If you ain't trying to change the franchise or the culture, don't get me. So you should know history repeats itself over and over and over. And I've done it over and over and over. So it should be no question why an NFL franchise should pick me.
That was Shedeur Sanders saying, if you don't think that I can change the culture of your organization, don't pick me. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. D. Mace, Vingan, and Willie Donick en route to New York. Predators against the Islanders and Rangers this weekend. Billy is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Billy, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Yes, I agree with what Shedeur said because he stood on business because, like he said, he's been doing it over and over again. When it comes to Deion Sanders, they hating on Deion Sanders' son. That boy can play ball. And Tennessee don't draft Shedeur, they going to regret it.
Thanks for the call, Billy. So Billy has that opinion. Here's one from Kevin on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I think the ignorance of comparing the NFL to Colorado or Jackson State is a bit off-putting and a sign that Mr. Sanders either has no idea of what he's getting into or he's just selling either way. That's an off-putting statement for me. If I'm picking QBs, I don't care what color he is or who his daddy is. Also, never heard him say anything about needing teammates. In fact, he seemed to indicate that he was the linchpin of those turnarounds, saying it would be the same in the NFL. Don't want to hear no excuses if you don't make it. He said it'll be the same. Let's see. We'll look back and see. Hopefully he does. I'm always pulling for all young men, but also been around the block long enough to sniff out some BS. That was Kevin on our text line.
Again, read that first part again, Adam, first part of his text, because that's the part I want to address quickly.
I think the ignorance of comparing the NFL to Colorado or Jackson State is a bit off-putting and a sign that Mr. Sanders either has no idea of what he's getting into or he's just selling.
I'm sure he knows exactly what he's getting into. He knows exactly. He hasn't experienced it, but he knows what he's walking into. Just like, hey, listen, I may not experience that particular ride, but after watching it and the people getting off of it and the people telling me that have gotten on it, I know what I'm about to get myself into. Okay, that's what I think. That's what he said. He knows what he's about to get himself into. But again, I'm only judging him by what he has done, not what he hasn't done. And again, at every level, he's been a winner. That's what we talk about, right? Being a winner. At every level, he's been a part of changing a program. Okay, Jackson State changed the program. That was another program that was faltering. They came in there, and yes, again, there were other people a part of it. But as we know, the quarterback gets too much of the blame, and the quarterback gets too much of the praise. He was a part of building that program and making it what it was before he left. And then they went to Colorado, and didn't nobody. I even had my questions about whether he can do it at this level. And what did he do? He did it at this level. So he has supreme confidence in his ability to walk in and change the team from what he can do. That's all he's saying. He said, from what I can do, I can change. Now, obviously, you're going to have other players. But if you're just asking me, yes, I can walk in because I've done it before. I believe that I can walk in and we can start to change this franchise. Why are you drafting number 1 and number 2 and number 3? Because you got a bad franchise. So every GM hopes that whoever they're drafting in the first round, especially the top 5, that they can come in and change the fortunes of their franchise. That's why they're drafting them that high. So why wouldn't he think that? And again, you're right. This is not about your race. It has nothing to do with that. This is about a young man being a supreme. If it was Joe Burrow, I would say the same thing. I like what he's saying. So to me, it's about the confidence in the player. If that player walks into that room and he shows no confidence, next, I want the next guy.
Jonathan on our text line says, my issue is saying that he turned 2 programs around and can do it in the NFL, but he turned 2 bad programs to mediocre programs. So what are we talking about? He's going to turn a bad NFL team to a mediocre NFL team. That's Jonathan on our text line. And here's what's working against. I mean, look, there are many things working against Shedeur Sanders in the court of public opinion. A lot of things. Shedeur Sanders has to go above and beyond to prove to a lot of people that he deserves to be in the spot. And the only reason, and to prove that the only reason he's in the spot is not just because of who his dad is. But we talked about this a couple of times, Derek. Jackson State, an HBCU program, a lower level program, impressive record, but again, a lower level program. Colorado, a program that was, for all intents and purposes, in shambles at the time that the Sanders family arrived there. But we've mentioned, and it's been mentioned, that the Buffaloes went 1-7 against top 25 opponents over the past 2 years with Shedeur Sanders. So Colorado was a bad program. He didn't turn Colorado into a national title contender. I understand why people are making that. Well, look, he just turned a team that was really bad into a team that was average. Just because he didn't turn a bad program into a title contender overnight doesn't mean that he didn't put in work to make that program better. But I think what happens is people see the fact that Colorado was fine with Shedeur Sanders. They weren't great. They weren't on the level of Ohio State and all of the other teams that made the college football playoff. I think that's pie in the sky to think that Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders were going to do that in just a couple of years. But I do think that's one thing, again, one of many things that's working against Shedeur Sanders, that the turnaround wasn't from worst to first. That's something that I think a lot of people point to.
Before Deion Sanders got there, the last time the Colorado Buffaloes were in a bowl game was 2016. Then they go to, he gets them to a point yet that they start to win. Again, were they winning at a great clip? No. But for all those people that are saying that, do y'all know where Colorado was as a program? Do y'all? Because I do, because we end up getting their head coach at Michigan State. So I know where that program was before Deion Sanders and his coaching staff and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter got there. And did they win the national championship? No. Did they win the Big 12? No. But that team became a better team when Shedeur Sanders and the crew stepped on campus. That you can't deny. Colorado wasn't an easy out anymore. They won more games than they lost, okay? I think ultimately after once the 3 years were up, Shedeur's 2 or 3 years. I think it was there 2. It might have been 2. Was it there 2? At Colorado.
2 years.
2 years. Okay. They end up winning more games, I believe, than they lost. It might have been 50-50, somewhere around there. But he, along with the other players, made that program relevant again. Nobody was talking about Colorado, about no Colorado sport at all. But when they stepped on that field and he started to play, everyone started to notice Colorado. He can't play defense. He can't protect himself, underneath center when you don't have a good offensive line. The offensive line was much better this year. Last year, he might have led the country in sacks, being sacked. But yet and still, he got underneath center and he did his job. This young man has talent. Will it work out in the NFL? I don't know. But I would rather him come in with that confidence than he has, than for him to come in sort of like, suppressing everything. No, tell him about yourself. You want to be the number 1 pick. Tell us about yourself. And he does. And now people are mad at it. I don't get it.
JD on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And I align with what JD says here. I just think that where the Titans are, Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter could have a more immediate impact than Shedeur Sanders. The Titans have a lot of trouble they have to solve on offense before a quarterback can step in and make a difference. That's where I land on this conversation as well. The reason why, if I were in charge of the number 1 overall pick, I would not choose Shedeur Sanders has nothing to do with anything that he said at the NFL Combine today. It just, I don't see him as having the impact of turning the franchise around immediately. Neither could Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, but as JD said on the text line, I think they have a better chance of helping the Titans on the field faster than Shedeur Sanders. So that's why I'm not drafting Shedeur Sanders, number 1 overall, if it were up to me. But it has nothing to do with what he said today. But a lot of people, as we've been reading on our text line, they don't love the confidence. One texter said the Boz, meaning Brian Bosworth, and Ryan Leaf had confidence too. We have seen it too. Shedeur Sanders may end up being the Bronny James of the NFL.
How? Deion Sanders ain't coaching the NFL. Deion Sanders isn't pushing him or doing all this stuff to make sure that he's in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders' talent tells me that he should be in the NFL. Tells me that he should be a first-round pick or a second-round pick, whatever you decide. Bronny James, that is not comparing apples to apples. That's comparing apple to grapes or something. No, just no comparison. Okay. Again, if the Titans, here's what the problem is. If the Titans didn't have the first overall pick, Shedeur Sanders wouldn't be a problem if you drafted him. But because they got the number 1 pick, nobody feels that he's worthy of that pick. But they know the Titans need a quarterback. So people have separated themselves from that. Yeah, they need a quarterback, but no, I don't want to take him at number 1. So what if the Titans had the 10th pick? Would you then be okay with Shedeur Sanders? Or if they had the 7th pick, would you then be okay with Shedeur Sanders? That's a honest question. Because and you wouldn't be wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong, but just look at it. You don't think he's worthy of the number 1 pick, but if the Titans had the 10th, 12th, 13th, we can draft him there. We can draft him there. But you still want him to be an impact player, right? Yup. Make it make sense to me.
We will put a bow on this. Actually, we're not going to put a bow because we're going to pick it back up later. We're going to hit pause on the Shedeur Sanders conversation. We will pick it back up. 615-737-1025. Vanderbilt basketball forward Jalen Carey will join us on the program next as Vanderbilt prepares for another big game against Missouri tomorrow. We will talk with Jalen Carey coming up next. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. D. Mace, Finn, Ginandonic, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Vanderbilt back in action tomorrow, hosting Missouri, and another key SEC matchup as we approach March. March will be here tomorrow. March Madness is upon us. And joining us on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, is Vanderbilt forward Jalen Carey. Jalen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, anytime. It's an honor to be here, for sure.
So let's talk about the most recent win on Wednesday, a big road win at Texas A&M, 86-84. One thing missing from the Commodores' resume was that marquee road win. You were able to get it against the Aggies. What went right for your team on Wednesday?
I feel like we were just really composed, before our biggest thing has been we haven't played good second halves, and that was a key emphasis going into this game, was just focusing on our second halves, and I feel like we did that. We executed well in the second half, and we're just keep on building on what we have already done, and that's just the best thing we've done.
Let's talk about those second halves, because as you said, one issue that the team has had at various points this season is maintaining that composure in the second half. Opponents have had some runs in the second half. When you look at that particular issue, what would you say has been the biggest cause of that you were able to fix this past Wednesday?
Just scoring the ball. In the second half, in the previous games, the other teams picked up their defense and intensity, and we kind of were shell shocked, and we just kind of had to calm ourselves down really, and just make sure we know who we are. We have our identity now, and that's just being tougher, being dogs out there, and bringing a lot of energy from the bench. Me and Glock, we were in foul trouble. We was just bringing energy. Our guy, JQ, stepped up huge. It was crazy, man. 24. That was my guy. Just always having everybody ready. That was our biggest thing that took away too from that game. Guys that usually haven't been there, they stepped up when we needed them, and that was the best too also about it.
You followed Mark Byington from James Madison to Vanderbilt. The turnaround that the team has had year over year has been astonishing to watch. Of course, you weren't here last year, but Mark Byington as a coach. What has allowed him to get the buy-in from this group that's allowed him to turn around this program so quickly?
I remember Coach B, he had told us last year at JMU that if we sacrifice as a team, everybody's individual goals, our team goals will be the best. And that's what I've always had installed in me since then. And that's why I guess he brought me over here, because he knew that it's going to be hard, now playing with in the SEC. Everybody's got their own egos. Everybody wants their own goals. And it was tough at first, but I'm glad to see everybody starting to come to it now, where as if we all share the rock and share the glory, it'll just be 10 times better than everybody having their own individual goals. And that's what he's just been telling us. And he's just a great coach. That's all I can say about that.
Jalen Carey joining us on the program. Jalen, I've noticed something that you do to get inside opponents' heads. After you make a big dunk or a big shot, you'll sometimes run head first into the padded stand underneath the hoop. What's behind that? What are you trying to accomplish there?
It's just it's energy, man. I talk about it after the what game? Texas game. I have the reason why I play this game. I've always been doubted, man. My family's they had their history, brother and dad, and me. I kind of had a different route, and that route has always keep that passion and fire in me. And when I do it, I'm just letting it out, and that's why that's just the passion and energy I like to play with, and it's going to take me somewhere, and that's just what I believe in,
Hey, well, Jalen Carey, don't pull a Trent Green. I don't know if you know who Trent Green is. You may be a little bit too young for this, but Trent Green was the quarterback of the then St. Louis Rams. and he scored a touchdown and ran his head purposely into a mat and ended up getting a concussion. And that led the way for Kurt Warner to come in and be the guy that he ultimately be. So, yeah, bump your head on it, but not too hard. Bandit still needs you, man. They need you, especially as they
I got you. I got you. But yeah, I'm a big guy, man. You know, my dad played football, so I can take some hits, you know, and it's a pass. So.
That's good. That's
I
good.
got you for sure.
But looking at this, you talked about just a few minutes ago how, you know, the guys finally, you know, came to a sort of a consensus. Hey, listen, if we're going to have any success, we got to play as a team. And it has to be hard when this is entirely basically a new team, a bunch of guys coming in from different, you know, universities or freshmen that have never played really any time together. And then you throw them all together, they have camp to sort of mesh. But then you get into the season and maybe things aren't going quite as well. It's not because you're a bad team. It's just because you guys hadn't had a lot of minutes together. When was that game this season that you felt and that your team felt, okay, we are a team. We are sort of we are figuring it out, and we see the team that we can become?
Honestly, I feel like it might sound crazy, even though it was in a loss, but I feel like that Tennessee game on the road, when we played in Knoxville in that tough environment, even though we might have lost, I still feel like, hey, we were right there. We were about one possession bad, play off, and it was just, hey, I really like where we're at, and it's crazy, you know. And even though we lost that game, I still feel like we were right there, and everybody realized it. Even though we might have lost the next game too after that in Kentucky, it was like it kind of felt like the same thing. We're just that step off, and I feel like after that Kentucky, we kind of like starting to, hey, we're starting to bring it more in practice. We're starting to have more intensity, and it's firing us all up. And I really do appreciate that and enjoy that with this team right now. Because usually during this time, teams start to fall off or get better, and it's good to see that we're on the right track and we're steady, improving, and keeping better right now.
Now, I'm sure it's a positive thing to see in that run versus Texas A&M that 4 of the guys on the floor were guys that are not starters, but yet and still you're playing a very good Aggies team, and those guys were able to hold their own, which to me signals that, hey, this team may not be as big, but it seems like they're getting deeper, and that's the good thing heading into not just the SEC tournament, but March Madness.
Yeah, Coach B always says, if you're not going to praise your teammates or clap for your teammates, and when it's your time to come, you're going to look like poop out there. So all the guys that were out there that were, like you said, shining in those moments, they were positive when it wasn't their turn. And even the guys who were on the bench, like myself and my other teammates that weren't shining against Texas A&M, we were supporting them and bringing them energy. And that's what it's all about, just supporting each other when it's not our turn. It's not our time to shine. It's just, can we be there for our teammates when we need them? And that's what it's about, man. And I really do like that about our team. We're starting to realize it, and that's good.
We'll talk with Jalen Carey, Vanderbilt's sophomore forward. Now, in a lot of these games, Jalen, you guys have played excellent first halves, especially in the games that you lost. But it's been the second halves of those games where it seems to have gotten away from y'all. And I don't think it's so much that y'all can't compete. I just think sometimes because y'all are allowed to be physical in the first half, the second half, y'all still have that mentality. And all of a sudden, guys like McLaughlin and yourself get into foul trouble, which puts y'all on the bench. How do you adjust to that when the calls change, when it goes from being a very physical first half and no fouls are being called, or not that many, to a second half, you're still being physical, but now they are making those calls?
We just got to know that we got to just adjust. That's all. Even myself, I may be young, but we can't use that as an excuse right now, especially we're around 17 or around 16 tomorrow. We just got to be ready to do what we got to do. And like you said, like I said, adjusting to knowing that the foul calls are going to change because our team needs us, especially in the second half. And, yeah, that's pretty much it, yeah.
Jalen, I know that you don't need to be reminded of this, but I'm just going to read you the rankings of your past 5 opponents. Number 1, number 5, number 17, number 24, and number 12. We've talked a ton this season about just the gauntlet that is the SEC, but take us inside what it's like to play these high caliber opponents on a nightly basis. There is no night off in the SEC. So what is that like as a player?
Man, it's just a blessing, man. Coming out of high school, at first I didn't even think I was going to be able to get any scholarships, and playing at JMU, it could really show you something about life. And, we had the blessing where my team was crazy last year and playing in packed gyms, but not big arenas. And now in the SEC, playing, like you said, this gauntlet schedule, playing in front of tens and 20,000 people every night, it's crazy. It's just, I'm just blessed to be in this position right now. And like you said, it's a crazy gauntlet, and I'm just blessed and just excited every night for a new challenge that is upon us, and just amazing, man.
Last one for you, Jalen. Let's talk about tomorrow's game. Hosting number 14, Missouri. Missouri had a big win not too long ago against Alabama. What's your scouting report on the Tigers for tomorrow?
I can't give you too much, but we're for sure gonna come in there with an NFL mindset, football mindset, that it's gonna be a dogfight, and we're gonna have to try to withstand some adversity and just keep going and keep fighting, and eventually it'll come to us.
Jalen Carey, Vanderbilt basketball forward, joining us on D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick. Jalen, thank you so much for your time. Good luck tomorrow against Missouri.
Of course. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Jalen Carey joining us on the program. By the way, you can listen to Vanderbilt take on Missouri tomorrow here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. 5 o'clock tip-off, 4:30 pregame show. So be sure to tune in to 102.5, 106.3 The Game tomorrow. And Derek, I know I said this yesterday following Vanderbilt's win against Texas A&M on the road. Coach Willie isn't here to be Coach Willie. I think Vanderbilt's in. I think the one thing that Vanderbilt was missing from its resume for the selection committee was a marquee road win. And they got that marquee road win against Texas A&M. They've beaten Tennessee. They've beaten Kentucky. Winning tomorrow at home against Missouri, a very good Missouri team. And Missouri's had an incredible turnaround. Speaking of turnarounds, Vanderbilt's had a really great turnaround. Missouri has had probably an even bigger turnaround. Beating Missouri, who just beat Alabama, at home tomorrow would be the cherry on top for me. But it's been really wonderful to see the Commodores competitive again. There were some lean years these past couple of years, and Mark Byington had as Jalen Carey mentioned, JMU was one of the top, I guess you could call them mid-major teams in the country last season. A lot of people had them maybe making a little run in the tournament. They pulled off an upset in the first round of the tournament, if I recall correctly, against Wisconsin before, I'm not upset by this, before being taken down by Duke in the second round. But JMU, an incredibly tough team last year. Mark Byington brings that here, and it's been paying dividends. The interest in Vanderbilt basketball, seeing this proud program playing meaningful games again in late February and early March is something that I am happy to see again.
Yeah, and I think that's what, everybody, at least let's say Vandy fans, this is what they wanted to see. This is what they were used to, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, when was Vandy this great? No, but Vandy was a good team, and going to Memorial Gym meant something, It wasn't just walking into Memorial and, it's going to be a loss. Which team is going to show up? No, you knew which team was going to show up. They were going to play hard, period. And now they're starting to get back to that. But what makes it even more impressive, Adam, is that the year which they're doing it in is a year where the SEC is the dominant conference.
Yes.
And I'm not just talking 6 teams. I'm talking 1 through 12 possibly. Dominant teams. They can, like, 12 of these teams can go into any conference in college basketball and compete for the title, for their title, that specific title, whether it be the ACC, Big Ten, or whoever else. We haven't seen this from the SEC. I don't think I've ever seen it where this many teams have been this good. And I'm happy to be able to talk about Vanderbilt in the same breath as a Kentucky, a UT, an Alabama, even Auburn, even though Auburn has shown that they are the top and the cream of the crop. But when Vandy played them, Vandy had a shot. That first half, Vandy stood toe to toe. And it wasn't until the second half, as they started to get into the second half, then they started getting into the foul trouble. Then Auburn truly showed they are the best team in the country. Auburn's done that to everybody, and it wasn't just Vanderbilt. But because Vanderbilt, the way they're playing is such a really, really good conference, that should, to me, if I'm a Vandy fan, that makes me feel good about my program moving forward.
Yeah, I like the job that Mark Byington has done. It's been fun watching Vanderbilt games. Vanderbilt games for me this season have been appointment viewing. And as Jalen Carey said, second halves have been an issue. It wasn't an issue on Wednesday against Texas A&M. They were able to close out Texas A&M. But all of these games, at one point in all of these big SEC games, really, they've been in it.
Yes.
Have they been able to finish the job? Not always, but they've been in it. I mean, think about the game against Auburn. What was it? Was like 13-0. I want to say it was 15-0. Auburn just came out and blitzed Vanderbilt.
And what was the score at the half?
I think they were down 4. I want
34 to 32.
Okay,
Auburn.
they were down 2, and they took the lead in the second half of that game, if I recall correctly. So I remember watching the beginning of that game. They were down 13-0, 15-0. I can't recall exactly. And that's like, all right, well, Vanderbilt gave it a shot, and then I kept on checking the score and I saw Vanderbilt clawing back into the game, and I sat down and watched the game. And sometimes that's all you can ask for a basketball program is make the games interesting. And we even saw that with the football program as well. Vanderbilt has done a really good job lately with their football and basketball programs. And Vanderbilt is back in action tomorrow against number 14 Missouri at Memorial Gym, a game that you can hear right here on 102.5, 106.3. The game, 615-737-1025. It's time to ask D-Mace. So get your questions in, call us, text us, 615-737-1025. Mostly nothing is off limits. I screen these things. I screen the texts. David screens the calls, but Derek is game. He'll answer mostly whatever you want. 615-737-1025. It's time for Ask D-Mace. We'll do that next. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3. The game.
He played 15 years in the NFL.
Quick throw. Touchdown, Derek Mason.
He had over 12,000 receiving yards.
Midfield, and there he goes. 80 yards for the touchdown.
And now you can ask him anything. Have a question about football or life? Now's your time to ask D Mace.
We'll welcome you in.
Now, D Mace on 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's time for Ask D-Mace on D-Mace, Vingan and Donick. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Before we get to your questions, some major breaking news in the NFL, according to Adam Schefter of ESPN. LA's quarterback is back. The Rams and Matthew Stafford reached agreement today on a restructured deal that keeps him in Los Angeles and quashes any and all trade speculation per sources. The first significant offseason QB domino has fallen. Whether Matthew Stafford returned to LA or was traded to another team was going to influence potential pending quarterback decisions with multiple NFL teams. Now that Stafford is slotted to LA, quarterback-needy teams such as the Raiders, Steelers, Giants, and Browns can continue on with their offseason quarterback plan. So Matthew Stafford staying put in Los Angeles because that's where all of his stuff is.
Yeah, I listen. I think that was a play to possibly get more guaranteed money, because if you look at the LA Rams, they're now starting to cycle through that whole, we had to do this to win the championship, that all-in cycle. And they got their championship. And then it took them a couple of years, including this year, to sort of cycle out of that. Where else would he was like, you're in a position now, your defense has been upgraded. You got a young, good defense. You got a young, good wide receiver. Two of them, matter of fact. You have a pretty good pretty good running back. Your offensive line is pretty good. Why would you want to, and you're in that, why would you want to leave the Rams again? I don't understand that. To me, it was just how I want to get more guaranteed money. That before I hang it up, I want one more big contract. And that big contract means I want one more big guarantee. And he's going to get it. Why would he want to lead the LA Rams? I didn't see the logic behind that anyway.
So the news from Adam Schefter, the LA Rams and Matthew Stafford, they're staying together. And we'll go ahead there.
No, and why would the Rams want to get rid of him? They don't have no contingency plans.
Well, we'll see what the contract value is. That has not been reported as of yet. Once we hear what that is, we will let you know. But Matthew Stafford off the board, staying in Los Angeles, and we'll talk about what that means for the quarterback market after Ask D-Mace. But it's time to Ask D-Mace. Let's start with our friend Eric on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Eric, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Yes, and I'm going to start off as per usual with my dad joke. This is not one I made up, and it's, whatever you think of it, but, but here goes. What do you get when you cross a mallard with a clown?
A mallard with a clown.
Mm-hmm.
Something about a duck.
Yes.
A ducklehead instead of a knucklehead?
No. Daffy Duck.
See that one? No, Eric. I'm not. Today you didn't hit, Eric. Today wasn't one of those days.
I gave him a courtesy chuckle.
Well, we can be real. We can be real with Eric. Okay.
Yes, we can.
You usually come with something good. That one, you gotta go back to the drawing board, Eric.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. It's tough sometimes to think of jokes on the fly or come up with ones. I always try to, but yeah, okay. I had the feeling eventually I was going to miss. Well, my Ask D-Mace question is this. You may have heard this earlier today. I heard this, that there was a report that the Titans organization had talked about that they were open to bring back Mason Rudolph. I'd wondered if you'd heard that and just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I was surprised when I heard that, because I thought either him or Will Levis was coming back, not both. But now it just is interesting. I'd heard that this morning. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and if you had heard that, guys. I'll get off. Y'all have a great weekend. Y'all take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for the call, Eric. So, Eric, we did discuss this briefly at the end of yesterday's program. There was a story from Jim Wyatt of TennesseeTitans.com talking to Brian Callahan and Mike Borgonzi about Mason Rudolph. And Callahan praised Rudolph for the job he did last season and did not completely close the door on Mason Rudolph. And Derek, you were adamantly opposed to the Tennessee Titans bringing back Mason Rudolph. In case you didn't hear it, explain to the people why you don't like this idea.
Where do I start? But okay, listen. For one, if I am going to sort of run it back in a sense, I don't want Mason Rudolph, but because Mason Rudolph does nothing for this offense. He doesn't excite it. It's not an exciting offense when Mason Rudolph is out there. And if you're not in a position to win a bunch of games, then at least let it be entertaining for this reason.
You love Jameis Winston for this reason.
Because, listen, eventually, and they're starting to do it, you see it, eventually your fan base, listen, no fan base likes losing. No, none. At least I don't think there is. But if you're going to lose, make it exciting. Score 35 points. You know, I'm not saying you got to score 35 every game, but average 25 points a game, 24 points a game. You haven't done that in 2 years, or maybe even 3. Average 24, 25 points a game. That's exciting for the fan base, all while you're asking them to pay this extraordinary amount for these new tickets or these new seats that are going to be in that beautiful stadium that they're building. So you're telling me that, okay, I'm just going to throw Mason back out there and let him do it. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You're going to see more people walking away. That's what you're going to see, because people already seen Mason Rudolph. They don't want to see no more of that. They don't want to see pedestrian football. They don't want to see turtle football. I know at the end of the story, the turtle end up winning. I get that. But this ain't a story. This ain't a turtle and hare story. No one wants to see turtle play unless you're winning. If you're not winning, you better be scoring a lot of points. That's why I'm like, don't come back with Mason Rudolph. Don't. Bring in someone that's, one, is going to present competition to whoever you draft or however this thing works out. But also, I want to bring in a guy that's going to be exciting for my offense, that's going to put points on the board. Yeah, we may lose, but you ain't going to say we lose because we couldn't score over 25 points or we couldn't score over 20 points. You couldn't score over 20 points for the last 2.5 seasons, almost 3. I don't want to see that no more. And Mason Rudolph was a part of that. So you're asking me, do I want to see Mason Rudolph? No, I don't want to see Mason Rudolph again because I saw that story already. Bring somebody else. Bring Jameis Winston or somebody else. Hell, go get Fitzpatrick. Go get him. At least he's known for throwing 3-4 touchdowns in a game. Don't bring back Mason Rudolph.
Mark, our friend Mark from Nashville, is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Mark, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Oh, I'm really angry today, boy. I tell you, man, I had to put 50 more cents in this payphone, Adam. I'm on hold, man. I mean, what am I supposed to do? But hey, Adam, I got a favor to ask from you real quick.
Okay, let's hear it.
D-Mace this question. I sit here and been listening today. I'm riding down the interstate on my back at work again, but I'm riding down the interstate and I'm hearing all this hatred for Shedeur Sanders. Hey, Nashville, the Titans, y'all don't want him. Hey, that's a blessing to the Raiders. We'll take him at 6. You know, I'm getting tired of hearing all this about, hey, look, Deion and Shedeur done a lot for Jackson State and Colorado. Colorado came up out of the budget is a plus because they were almost broke. Jackson State got new facilities out of it. Deion and Shedeur did a heck of a job. And if he's arrogant, I like arrogant people. Hell, Steelman's arrogant, but hey, still, I love arrogant people. At least they are real, man. And there's nothing wrong with him being confident and arrogant. So be it. He can back it up. But if y'all don't want him, Tennessee, give it to us. We'll take him with Tom Brady's ownership and Pete Carroll coaching. We need a quarterback, so I'm through with that. But, D-Mace, as far as the question, I just wanted to ask you this. I know it's a crazy question, but when you were playing football, and I know all y'all had a playbook and stuff as far as wide receiver and knowing the offense, Was the playbook really complicated, man, as far as the verbiage and all that? I know that's a crazy question to ask you, but I always wanted to ask you that because I've always heard that a NFL playbook is really a complicated book. So I'm gonna leave you with that. Y'all have a good weekend. Sorry about getting mad, but I hated digging in my pocket for 50 cents and waiting on Kevin Hart to tell that bad joke he told. So I'm gonna let y'all go.
Thanks for the call, Mark.
Y'all, my man Eric, Mark. Come on, we can't have call a crime here.
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's good. Listen, I've said this before because sometimes the assumption is, well, football players or athletes in general, they don't know nothing. They're just dumb and whatever these stereotypes have been for athletes in general. That's not the case. Listen, everybody excels at their professional fields different ways. Some people, are ones that can, regurgitate things, process it and all this other stuff. And some people can't, but that doesn't mean that, they're dumb or something. Here's the thing. An NFL playbook is like an encyclopedia. And I mean that literally. It's like an encyclopedia. And just imagine for all y'all out there listening, just imagine if I gave you an encyclopedia, what's today? The 29th, 28th?
Today's the 28th.
Today's 28th, the last day of February, the 28th. Just what if I gave you a encyclopedia on the 28th and then told you by June, because we got mini camps, but by June or July, you need to know this whole playbook. You need to know it all. You need to know that whole encyclopedia in 3 months. Not many people can do that. They can't. I'm going to tell you, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. But that's what it's like in the NFL, especially for quarterbacks. Just imagine, because the quarterback has to know what everybody does. It takes a lot of intelligence, smarts, whatever you want to call it. It takes a lot to be able to sit down, read all that, process all that, and then go out on the field. And you expect me, after I've just given you 100 plays, no lie, if I've just given you 100 plays, you expect me now to go on the field and run those plays? Just call them out. When you call them out, I just run them? That is a hard thing to do, and guys do it. Not all of them, but majority of the guys are able to do it, whether it be college or the NFL. So it takes a lot to learn these playbooks. And Wes is right. Well, Wes, you're right. That whoever told you that, they are exactly right. That playbooks are like encyclopedias, all of them.
615-737-1025. We'll get to your questions for Derek. So if you're calling, texting, stick with us. We've got plenty more to get to with Derek coming up next. But before we do, Nashville's best deal this week is from Barrio Burrito Bar in Murfreesboro. At Barrio Burrito Bar, every bite is a celebration of fresh ingredients, vibrant spices, and bold flavors, dancing on your taste buds like a fiesta in your mouth. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals now and get half off a $25 gift card while supplies last. D-Mace, Finnegan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Before we get back to your questions for Derek. So we started Ask D-Mace with the breaking news that the Los Angeles Rams and Matthew Stafford have agreed on a restructured contract. This was the immediate follow-up report from multiple people, but I'm seeing the one from Diana Rossini, so I'm going to read hers. The New York Giants, here's my sidebar, who were big into Matthew Stafford. Back to Diana Rossini. The New York Giants are now shifting their interest to Aaron Rodgers. They've been discussing it all week in Indianapolis per sources. Aaron Rodgers, all his stuff is there.
Yeah.
Playing at the same stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers and the Giants. Interesting. Interesting. We will discuss more of the domino effect of Matthew Stafford sticking in LA after Ask D-Mace. So Matthew in Nashville texted in on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHundy.com. This is actually a quarterback related question. So maybe we can do it here.
Okay.
If you were any of these quarterback needy teams, would the fear cross your mind that this draft could be as bad as the 2022 class, but you feel like you almost have to take a quarterback, even if it doesn't work out like the Steelers did with Kenny Pickett?
No, I wouldn't feel that way because every draft is its own entity. So I wouldn't, if I don't think there's a quarterback worthy of being drafted at the position I'm drafting at, then I'm not drafting him. I'm moving on. I'm getting another player, and maybe get a quarterback later in the draft. But I'm not going to sit here and draft a quarterback just because I need a quarterback, and also the quarterback prospects are very, very slim. I'm not just going to go out there and say, "Oh, I got to take this quarterback," even though he's not quite what I want. I got to take him because I need him, and there's no other quarterback. No, then don't take a quarterback. Take somebody else and find another alternative, or find another way or another avenue to get your quarterback. So as a GM, I wouldn't do it. How would you go about that process, Adam? Because I wouldn't draft a quarterback. If I didn't feel he was worthy of me drafting him at that particular spot, I wouldn't draft him just because.
Look, we've made this analogy many times before. Going to the bar and you're hoping to pick someone up and go home. And sometimes when you're desperate, you do things that you never thought you would do. But with with Matthew Stafford off the board and the quarterbacks available in this draft, we've talked a lot about Shedeur Sanders today. We'll continue to talk about Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. The 2022 quarterback class, that included Kenny Pickett, that included Malik Willis, among others who are escaping me right now. But it is considered one of the worst quarterback draft classes in recent memory in the NFL. So I understand the question, like, you need a quarterback. So are you going to be willing to do something, even something you may not want to do, just because you need a quarterback? I get that, but there are going to be perfect, like you mentioned Mason Rudolph, right? It wouldn't be Mason Rudolph, hopefully, but there are Mason Rudolph type quarterbacks that are readily available. For example, there was a story on ESPN.com earlier this week where Seth Walder, who is one of ESPN's analytics writers, predicted the starting quarterback for every team in the NFL next season. Now, since he published this story, some things have changed. For example, he predicted that Derek Carr would be the New York Jets quarterback, but Derek Carr is expected to remain in New Orleans. So that has changed. Can I tell you who Seth Walder predicted the Titans starting quarterback to be in 2025?
I think I know who it is. You want me to say it?
Go for it.
Jones.
Which one?
Mac?
No. Jacoby Brissett.
Oh, wow.
Seth Walder writes, in this scenario, Brissett again takes on the role of a bridge quarterback who could mentor a young signal caller. I think the Titans, who have a new GM and thus have time on their side, will trade down with the Giants and select a quarterback at the tail end of the first round or on day 2. But well-respected Brissett starts in week 1 for Tennessee. Now, there are some of you who are listening to this and going, oh my God, Jacoby Brissett? But Jacoby Brissett's going to be there. Like, I am not going to... You may have heard this in some of the promos that we have on the station. I think this is what I said. I'm not going to go crazy if I'm the Titans looking for a franchise quarterback this offseason. If they decide that the best thing for them is to spend a small amount relative to what quarterbacks make on Jacoby Brissett to be their quarterback, Jacoby Brissett is the ultimate, I just need a guy to be a placeholder for a little while. He's done it how many times in his career by now? It's like him and Tyrod Taylor. Like, the two of them are the ultimate placeholder quarterbacks. If the Titans decided that they were going to pay Jacoby Brissett, I don't know how much he would make, but it probably wouldn't be much. If they were to decide to pay Jacoby Brissett to be their quarterback to start the season, I'm not going to be mad about it. I would rather them do something like that than to pay big money on a quarterback that doesn't work out or draft somebody high that doesn't work out. But I understand the texter's point. One texter, David in Arkansas, on our text line says, D-Mace, this popped up on my news feed the other day. 25 years ago, Nashville held a parade for the team that went to the Super Bowl. What were your and your teammates' feelings about a parade after losing that heartbreaking game?
It was appreciated. Even though we didn't, the ultimate prize and the ultimate, parade is winning the Super Bowl. That's what brings the most excitement out of you. Not only the parade, but the fact that you're holding up or hoisting up the Lombardi Trophy as you're, going down Broadway. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that. But, you typically don't see it, but we were in a unique situation, because this team had never had a NFL team, because we spent basically 2 years, away from Nashville in a sense, because we're in Memphis. And then even though we came back to Nashville the next following year, we were playing at Vanderbilt. Thank you, Vanderbilt. But we were playing at Vanderbilt, and it wasn't conducive for an NFL team nor NFL fans. But we made it work. And then to go into our stadium, our new stadium at the time was Adelphia, having our new, facilities, and then coming in there and going to a Super Bowl. I think it was more so about the fans in the city showing appreciation to us and us realizing that than anything. It wasn't like, oh, why are we having a parade? It was thank you, because I think you understood that this doesn't happen in every place. And we had a good team moving forward. So I think every person to a man or a woman, because it was the organization, to us, it was a appreciative gesture that they showed. They appreciated us as a team and what we were able to accomplish. So I enjoyed it, and I can truthfully say, I think everybody in that organization enjoyed it, but we understood that, man, it would have been even better had we come back with the Lombardi Trophy.
Josh and Dixon says, watch Jacoby Brissett in Cleveland. He's not Brady, but he doesn't suck. So Jacoby Brissett started in New England, was in Indianapolis for 4 years. He went to Miami, then Cleveland, then Washington, then back to New England. So he's been everywhere, man. But that's what I'm saying about the quarterback situation. It's like, I'm not going nuts finding a quarterback this offseason. If Sam Darnold doesn't work out, if Aaron Rodgers ends up with the Giants, because there have been reports that the Giants are now shifting their focus to Aaron Rodgers now that Matthew Stafford is off the board. If they don't want to draft Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, they don't want to start Will Levis, they don't want to bring back Mason Rudolph, and it ends up being Jacoby Brissett, I'm not going to be upset with the Tennessee Titans. To use the term that Willie uses, it's an exploratory year. I know that Titans fans don't want to watch a 3-14 football team again, but if they are a losing team again, hopefully it's not this bad, but if they are a losing team again and it helps them continue to build towards contention, I'm not going to be that mad about it. But then again, we'll see what actually happens when the football season starts, and I'm tired of watching bad football. 615-737-1025. So as we've said, Matthew Stafford has agreed to a restructured deal with the LA Rams, a big quarterback off the board, because it's going to change the outlook for a lot of different teams. How does this impact the Tennessee Titans? We'll do that next. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. D. Mace, Finnegan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Derek Mason and Adam Vingan here with you. We will take it to the bank, brought to you by F&M Bank, at around 1:40. So be sure to tune in for that. But the big news of the day in the NFL, Derek Mason, the Rams and Matthew Stafford are closing in on a deal for Stafford to return to Los Angeles. This according to Ian Rappaport, who gets in fights at Starbucks. After talks with the Raiders and Giants, Stafford ends up taking less than he would have gotten elsewhere to stay. Yet I have not seen what that figure is yet. It has not been reported how much money Matthew Stafford will make on his next deal. We had one texter who said, does this truly mean that Stafford is off the board just because he restructured? Yes. Mm-hmm. The Rams themselves tweeted that Matthew Stafford is back. So this is not a restructured deal as a prelude to a trade. Matthew Stafford is off the board. So remember, yesterday, we talked about a report from Art Stapleton, a veteran reporter who covers the New York Giants, that the Giants' plan was to go hard after Stafford. And if they weren't going to go after Stafford, they were going to trade up with the Titans for the number 1 pick. The Giants are at 3. So I guess now apparently reportedly the Giants are going after Aaron Rodgers. Oh boy, that would certainly be something. But Matthew Stafford was one of the biggest dominoes that needed to fall. There's also Sam Darnold, who's the top available quarterback in free agency. We'll see what happens between Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. But now that Stafford is off the board, the Giants can't go after him, which means, hey, does this give the Giants even more incentive to trade up from 3 to 1 with the Titans? And do the Titans have more leverage now? We talked about being desperate for quarterbacks. I don't think the Titans need to be desperate for a quarterback. The Giants certainly seem that they're desperate for a quarterback. What could Matthew Stafford being off the board and everything else that happens as a result mean for the Titans in your mind?
I think it just, I'm not sure it means a lot for the Titans, because I think at the end of the day, the Titans are in a position where they can accept whatever offer they want to move out of that number 1 spot. So it's not like all of a sudden now, the Giants couldn't get Matthew Stafford, and all of a sudden now it's just like, oh my goodness, we have one more trading partner, or we have one less trading partner, however you want to look at it. The Titans have to conduct themselves based upon their team and their team's need. Whether it's the Giants, the Jets, or any other quarterback needing team, if I'm the Titans, my outlook would be the same. I'm trying to get as much as possible for whoever wants to move up to this number 1 spot. Now, again, it may add another team, the Giants, into the mix, but what would have been the Rams' contingency plan had they let Matthew Stafford walk away? Would they then be in the mix? And now that the Giants are out, because Giants would have gotten their quarterback, now the Rams would have been in need for a quarterback.
I think they would have gone hard after Sam Darnold. I think if
Possibly,
Matthew Stafford would have left, you could plug in Sam Darnold and hope to recreate the environment that Darnold had with the Vikings that made him so successful. So that's what I think would have happened had the Rams moved on from Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, but and more than likely you're right in that scenario. But it shouldn't change too much of what the Titans are thinking. Whether Giants, you are in the mix or out of the mix, it doesn't matter to us. We still got to evaluate our team and do what's best for our organization. And if that means trading down, then we're going to trade down. But you're no longer a trading partner. Now there has to be another trading partner. So, maybe, and not maybe, it does eliminate at least one from the potential of trading up. That's the only way it sort of, affect the Titans. But other than that, the Titans still have to go about their business at trying to fix their team. And just because the Giants would have been out of the mix, that doesn't change the goal which we have in mind, which is making our team the best team possible for this upcoming year.
The Giants are under a lot of pressure after what happened with Saquon Barkley, and Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are returning as GM and coach respectively. Their owner, their chairman, John Mara, was open after that decision was made. He's like, I'm running out of patience. Like, those two need to show me something, or else. And what's actually funny, speaking of the Giants, this is how poorly the Giants offseason went. Remember the offseason Hard Knocks that the Giants did? Apparently, because of how poorly it went for the Giants, there were no NFL teams that were willing to do it. And the Titans, I believe, were among the teams that were required to be in the running for Hard Knocks because there are certain thresholds. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but I believe the Titans were going to be in the mix, which I would have loved to have seen. But apparently, no NFL teams showed interest. That North Carolina, the University of North Carolina, that is considering doing the offseason Hard Knocks with Bill Belichick and Michael Lombardi and all of them. The NFL could not find a taker for offseason Hard Knocks because of how poorly the Giants looked in that show. And we saw, and the Saquon Barkley contract negotiations were the major storyline of that season. And we saw what happened with Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Giants are in one right now. The Giants absolutely need to hit a home run with this quarterback, whether it's signing someone or drafting someone. So I'm wondering if the apparent desperation of the Giants could lead to more of a windfall for the Tennessee Titans. By the way, this was from earlier today from Diana Rossini. This was before the news of Matthew Stafford returning to Los Angeles. This was 6 hours ago. The Rams are set to meet with Matthew Stafford at their facility in person today regarding his future. The Raiders and Giants have discussed a 2-year contract for Stafford that includes $90 to $100 million guaranteed.
So $50 a year.
And apparently, he took less to stay with the Rams. So we still don't know what that is yet.
Again, show me where he took less. That's all I'm asking. Show me where he took less. I think the Rams gave him probably what he would have gotten in free agency, a 2-year deal worth $100 million. I don't think he would have got more than that. Or they could have signed with a 3-year deal, but it was really a 2-year deal. So to say he left money on the table, I don't think he did. I think he looked at it as well as the Rams looked at it and said, hey, listen, the best thing for both parties is that we stay together. Point blank. Sometimes it happens. And listen, whether you do that or not, that's your decision as a couple. I'm going to stay together for the kids. And sometimes it probably is the best thing. Well, the Rams are in this situation. Let's just stay together. It's better for all parties if we stay together. Yeah, I don't think. Will you get for more than $50 million? Probably not. But let's do what's best for all parties and let's stay together. And that's what the Rams did. Now, listen, everybody wants the sausage, but they don't want to know how it's made. I did see how it was made the other day on television. And
what were you watching?
I forgot what I was watching, and I saw how they processed some of the sausages, the links. I'm like, nope, I do not want to see that again. But in Hard Knocks, because of what the Giants did, the blunder that they made, the blunder of all blunders,
choosing Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley.
But you know what? Basically, I'm sure there are at least 10 teams that have done that, where they should have kept a player, they decided to keep another player, and they blew up in their face.
But it wasn't broadcast on national television.
Nobody saw it. So you know what the teams are saying now? No. Yeah, we will give you the sausage, but we ain't gonna show you how it's made. We ain't doing that. Because the last time somebody did that, you see what happened. The fan base hates them now, and Saquon won a championship. That's not good. So, with that being said, to answer your question, I think the Giants are desperate.
They
the
absolutely
Giants are a desperate team right now because of that one act in real time that everybody saw.
Absolutely. And that's why I wonder. We've talked about this story a couple of times from Jordan Raynon, who reports on the Giants for ESPN.com, did a story a couple of weeks ago looking at what it would take to move up from 3-1. It would take the Titans, according to Raynon, taking the 3rd overall pick, of course, and maybe adding a 3rd round pick this year, a 3rd round pick next year. But considering the situation that the Giants find themselves in, maybe they are willing to sweeten the deal. One texter, Dustin in Hopkinsville, on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com, talking about quarterbacks. He says, I'd like the Titans to get Gardner Minshew. He's good at times, will be watchable, fun football. This next season is a dumper for us. A dumper. I was going to say a dumpster fire. This next season is a dumper for us. Let's have fun while we look for our next quarterback in the draft in 2026. And that's what your point is, Derek, that if the Titans aren't going to be good next season, and look, if this team were to look, there are other moves that have to be made other than quarterback. They have other holes they need to fill. But let's just say, for the purpose of this argument, that the Titans do sign Sam Darnold. I know a certain someone who's getting a tingle in his loins right now, thinking about the idea of the Tennessee Titans signing Sam Darnold. So let's just say that happens. And we don't know what they're going to do in free agency. It doesn't sound like they've said they're going to be selective in free agency. So maybe they're not going to open the checkbook the same way they did last year. How many more wins does a Sam Darnold-led Titans team get? I mean, are they an above 500 team? Are they a 9-8 team with Sam Darnold at quarterback? Are they a playoff contender with Sam Darnold at quarterback? I'm not sure. I'm not convinced. I know that Sam Darnold had a great season last year up until it mattered.
Yes.
But he had a great season. I remain unconvinced that in a different situation, he will be the same quarterback. That's my hang up on Sam Darnold. So unless you're certain that your team can turn it around in the next couple of years while Sam Darnold is on your team and you can be a legitimate playoff contender, I would rather I was going to say the banned word.
Yeah, you can't say it.
I would rather gamble on a average quarterback. And if it doesn't work out, you're picking high again. That's where I am in this situation.
Okay. Where would the Titans have been had they had Sam Darnold last year? How many games did they win? 3?
Yes.
Probably 6. And I'm basing that on they were ahead in the Jets game. They were ahead in the Bears game. 2 costly mistakes cost them that game, or 3, or however you want to. He had one too many. So that's 5 wins. And then I think he would have been able to eke out a win here or there somewhere else. So I think they would have been a 6-win team. So with Sam Darnold, you're winning an extra 3 games. But Sam Darnold still doesn't, with that team last year, still doesn't get you to the playoffs. So having him, not having him last year, I don't think would have made a big difference. Will it make a difference if they go out and get Sam Darnold this year? Maybe if you upgrade, if the roster gets upgraded enough, then yes, Sam Darnold may be able to come in, because again, it's bad when you've watched the franchise for the last 3 years and the thing you come back with, I just want competent quarterback play. That's bad right there. After 3 years, I just want competent quarterback play. That's all I want. That's where the Titans are at. Just wanting competent quarterback play as of now, as we sit right now. Just somebody who can get underneath center and run the offense the way it needs to be ran. Okay, if you want Sam Darnold for that, then okay. But if you want to win more, you better surround him with more. That's point blank. He's not one of those guys that elevates your team. Your team elevates him. Look at it. Look at every stop he's been. Every stop he's been. he hasn't had much of any success. But he goes to Minnesota, and what happens? All of a sudden, now he has success. Why? Because he had the best receiver in the National Football League that was able to elevate him as a passer.
We are required by law
Yes.
to mention that Sam Darnold went 4-2 as a starter at the end of the 2022
Oh,
season with
my
the Carolina Panthers.
goodness.
We are
Stop
required by law
it.
to mention this.
Stop it. That was a horrible conference. Let's just stop it. Okay, you take that 1 year prior to Minnesota. What did he do? He didn't do a damn thing. Okay, so again, he's one of those guys that he needs to be elevated. He can't elevate others. He can't. You went 4-2, your team still didn't win or get into the playoffs. You had an opportunity to get in the playoffs, and you still didn't get in the playoffs. Even with him at quarterback, he didn't elevate you he didn't elevate you enough. And then he goes to San Francisco. And San Francisco, at that time, they really, I think maybe Brock Purdy was coming off the injury or something, or Brock wasn't even the starter, I don't think. He couldn't even win the starting quarterback job there. I get it what he did in Minnesota, but don't try to fool everybody and say, well, he was the reason that Minnesota had the no, they elevated him, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Some majority of the quarterbacks need that for the team to elevate them. There's only a handful of quarterbacks that elevate their team in today's game. It's okay to say Darnold's not one of those guys because he's not.
615-737-1025. Your recommendations for the Titans starting quarterback in 2025. I mentioned an article on ESPN.com predicting the starting quarterback for every team in the NFL next season. There are some interesting ones. I want to get Derek's opinion on them. Coming up next, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025, 1063, The Game.
Sponsor Nashville Predators. It's time to talk Lee Company, proud sponsor of our Nashville Predators coverage. Day to day, they continue to work on everybody's homes, and whoever calls them for their needs, they're ready to do it. 615-567-1000. If you've got a general maintenance problem at home or at work, they've got that department at Lee Company. Just go to leecompany.com. You can make an online appointment if that's how you want to go. If the heater's on the fritz, or if you want to get your air conditioning checked for the coming months, Lee Company's got you covered. 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com. Highly recommend you get that air conditioning checked before the weather gets hot. And they've got their year-round maintenance plan. That's where you get that annual coverage. I highly recommend that. Lee Company, proud sponsor, Nashville Predators.
D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025, 1063, The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan talking quarterbacks because we like to talk about quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
This story from ESPN. After striking out in talks with Matthew Stafford, the New York Giants are including Aaron Rodgers in their search for a veteran quarterback, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter on Friday. The Giants, meanwhile, are currently on track to have exclusive rights free agent Tommy DeVito as the only quarterback on the roster. Tommy Cutlets himself. The team holds the number 3 pick in the NFL draft, but GM Joe Shane said this week at the NFL Scouting Combine that they would, quote, look under every rock, end quote, to add a veteran as well. So the Giants are in desperate need of a quarterback. They are not the only team in need of a quarterback. So I mentioned this article, Derek, on ESPN.com from earlier this week, written by Seth Walder, one of their analytics writers, where he predicts the starting quarterback for every team in the NFL this upcoming season. Now, since he published this article, some things have changed. For example, he predicted that Derek Carr would be the starting quarterback of the New York Jets, but Derek Carr is remaining in New Orleans, so that is not an option. I believe he does indeed have Justin Fields as the predicted starter for the Saints in 2025. So that, of course, will not happen either. But a lot of dominoes left to fall. So I'm just going to name you some matches that Seth Walder has, and I want you to tell me what you think about them. His predicted 2025 starter for the Cleveland Browns, Kirk Cousins. He has Kirk Cousins as the predicted 2025 starter. He writes, the Browns will do this season what they probably should have done last year, land a starting quarterback not named Deshaun Watson. The most straightforward path is to use the number 2 pick on Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, but an alternative is using this season to reload assets by shipping out Myles Garrett for draft capital, signing Cousins to a cheap contract, and trading down for number 2 for more picks. So Kirk Cousins, Cleveland Browns quarterback, how does that sound to you?
Sounds good if I don't have to pay him north of $20+ million. Seriously.
I don't think you're going to have to do that.
Yeah. So if I don't have to pay you $20+ million, then yeah, I take you. He would, as long as I know that he's not having problems with the shoulder, because it seems like he made that a bigger issue than the actual Achilles, him coming off an Achilles injury. So if he doesn't have, I checked the medicals and there's nothing wrong with his shoulder, elbow, or whatever it was, or his throwing arm, then okay. But it's I would say a 2-year deal that's really a 1-year deal, and it has incentives in there. But I'm not paying you $20+ million.
I think that if Cousins is cut by the Falcons, and it sounds like they're open to having him return as the backup next season, I think he'll be available for close to the veterans minimum. Think what Russell Wilson did last season with the Steelers, because he'll be owed a lot of money from the Falcons. So if you could get Kirk Cousins for basically nothing,
or for the same amount that Baker Mayfield got from Tampa the first year, because it wasn't until the second year that he did the deal and he got more money. But I think the first year, in regards to quarterback money, he wasn't making much.
The New York Giants, the predicted quarterback for the New York Giants, according to Seth Walder of ESPN, Cam Ward. The Giants are desperate. We knew that. That's what happens when ownership retains a head coach and a GM on thin ice. Something Giants owner John Mara made clear when he said at turnaround, quote, better not take too long because I've just about run out of patience, which is something that you don't want to hear in any walk of life. All that does is incentivize Joe Shane and Brian Daboll to take considerable measures, including surrendering future value to maximize their chances to win in 2025. In this scenario, they can guarantee landing Ward by trading with the Titans to move to number 1. Cam Ward and the Giants.
Listen, I don't know what he's going to be as a pro, Cam Ward, but, them taking him wouldn't be a surprise. They need a quarterback, and it seems like they're high on Cam Ward. Now, do they trade up to get him? That's the crux of all. That's the question in this. Do they trade up to get him or stay at the what are they, 3?
The Giants are at 3.
Yeah, or stay at the 3 and cross their fingers that the Titans don't take him or trade out of it and someone else take them. That's the only thing you can hope for, is that another team doesn't jump over you to get Cam Ward. But listen, if you feel that's your guy, then go get him. But that's not one of those things that I would think like, wow, why are they doing that? Well, they need a quarterback, and they feel Cam Ward right now, in many eyes, is the number one quarterback.
We talked about Shedeur Sanders a lot earlier in the program. Cam Ward also addressed reporters today at the NFL Combine. He was asked about the Titans specifically. This is what Cam Ward said.
I think I know a decent amount. I was able to watch a couple of their games this past season. A lot of their route concepts are similar stuff that we do. So, you know, if I'm drafted there, I just think it'd be plug and play. We had good interactions. Myself, with Coach Callahan, the quarterbacks coach, and also the GM. It's a great staff they put together. They got unbelievable players. So, you know, I just hope, you know, that God puts me, you know, in this situation.
That was Cam Ward. He said that what they ran in Miami, I guess, was similar to what the Titans do. He called it plug and play if he were to be the Titans quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, plug and play, that's too simple to describe it, because it's not just plug and play. Well, I guess it would be plug and play, but what type of player you going to get, you know, and how long that plug going to stay in the socket. Yeah, but it's not that simple. You know, if you can have some familiarity with a system that you ran in college, and you see they're running the same type of system, may not be worded the same, but they're running the same concepts that you ran in college, then yeah, it makes it, you're ahead of the curve somewhat. It doesn't make it easier, but you're ahead of the curve somewhat, because I'm sure the verbiage is different. So when Cam says that, then yeah, you know, he would have sort of an advantage for him. You know, his advantage may be different from Shedeur's, because maybe Shedeur, what he ran in Colorado isn't the same that the Titans ran here, but Cam Ward said is. So he does have that sort of leg up on Shedeur in regards to, okay, can he come in right away and learn this offense? Well, he's ran it. As long as we can get him used to the verbiage, then he should be good. He should understand like 1, 2, 3, meaning first read, second read, third read, and how they go about doing it. So whether you draft Cam Ward or not, I think you're going to have enough time to try to develop him as a quarterback. And that would be my question to the Titans. If you are drafting a young quarterback, and I've heard Jared say this before with not Malik Willis, but Will Levis. He said this about Will Levis. They should have just came in and said, this guy's sitting. He's sitting for a year, and it's Ryan Tannehill's job. He's sitting for a year. So now the pressure isn't on him, and the fan base, no, he's not coming in. He's not going to be a starter. If you draft one of these quarterbacks, I think you have to give fans the ability to say, okay, he may sit and wait. He may sit and develop. We may not see him right away this season. I think you have to, if you do draft him, I think you have to say that at the beginning. You got to. You can change now. His play can cause you to change what you're thinking. But if I go in and say, Adam, we're going to draft this guy, I'm letting you know now, we're planning on him sitting this season. Sitting, learning, and developing. Now, if he comes out and he wows us and he picks up on everything, now I can change my mind. But it's hard. That's what Indianapolis ran into last year. They started, and Richard said he wasn't ready. And then they had to bench him. And it looks bad on everybody. And then you got to put him back in there. So the Titans, if you're going to draft, say if you take Cam Ward number 1 or Shedeur Sanders, please tell us, I want to hear, our plan is to sit him this year. That's our plan. Now he can change our plans.
To be clear, the quote was, a lot of their route concepts are similar
Yeah, route
stuff that we
concepts.
do at
Yeah.
Miami. So if I'm drafted there, I just think it'd be plug and play. That was Cam Ward's comment today at the NFL Combine. One more predicted 2025 starter for you, Derek, according to ESPN. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Sam Darnold. And this is what ESPN writes. Keeping Fields, Justin Fields, is a possibility, but if the Steelers really liked him, why did they continue to play Russell Wilson over him? And although I have some healthy skepticism of how Darnold will fare without Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson, he's arguably the best free agent quarterback available. I wouldn't say arguably, I think he is. The Steelers land him because they have the most to offer, a potentially very good defense, winning history under Mike Tomlin, and the lack of a top pick, making them less likely to take a first-round rookie.
I don't know. Here's the great thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't care what nobody say. Mike Tomlin in particular. He doesn't care what anybody says. He's going to do what's best for his team at that particular time. He's shown it. He's going to do what's best for his team. So if he thinks Sam Darnold is best for his team, make no mistake, I think Mike Tomlin will try to get him. But here's the kicker. I don't think Pittsburgh is going to pay him the $50 million or the $45 million. They may not go that high. I think Pittsburgh is one of those teams like, listen, we like you are. Because they would, just think about it. Ben Roethlisberger, I'm not sure if he was ever the top paid quarterback in the National Football League. Now, he could have been a few years when he signed his new deal. But after that, I don't think they ever made him the top guy consistently, like average per year. But they also got championship caliber play out of Ben Roethlisberger in that team. They won Super Bowls. They won AFC North titles. So Pittsburgh is the team that, what can you do for us? They're not about, no. What can you do for this team? Not what can we do for you. It's about what you can do for the team, okay? And I think too many people, and I've said this before, too many players at times operate from the premise of what the team can do for me as opposed to what I can do for the team. Pittsburgh's like, what you can do for me. So I don't think Pittsburgh will pay Sam Darnold the money that he wants. It would be smart for Sam Darnold to take less to go to a team like Pittsburgh. Why? Because of the things you just said. They got a top flight receiver. They got a good running back.
Defense
is really good. They're always going to be good. And they got a hell of a coach. May just be outside of Andy Reid, the best coach in the National Football League when you're talking about longevity. So you got all those working in your favor, man. Why wouldn't you want to sign with Pittsburgh for a little less?
One texter says, Mike in Lebanon quickly says, I'm actually more concerned about the next draft because if the Titans aren't in the top 3, then we may miss on a quarterback that's better than this year's quarterbacks. And I'm not, look, I'm never going to say the T word, tank. Mm-hmm. I have made the argument with the Predators in the past that they won't get better until they allow themselves to get worse. So I am not opposed to a team putting themselves in a position to lose more than they win, which is a fancy way of saying tanking, I guess. I'm just not going to say the word. But my point is that, as I said earlier, if the Titans decide we don't want to pay top dollar for Sam Darnold, we don't want to pay top dollar for Aaron Rodgers, we don't want to draft Shedeur Sanders, we don't want to draft Cam Ward, we don't want to go back to Will Levis, we don't want to re-sign Mason Rudolph, and we're going for it with Daniel Jones for a year, or Jacoby Brissett for a year, I'm fine with it. Because if that means that they're back in this position a year from now, picking at or near the top of the draft, and it can help them get to where they need to go, I'm okay with that. 615-737-1025. We will wrap up the week as we do every Friday with Take It to the Bank. We'll do that next. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025, 1063, The Game. D-Mace, Van Ginadonic, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. It's Friday. It's 1:45, so it's time to take it to the bank with F&M Bank. Customer, community, F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Visit one of their locations throughout Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky or online at myfmbank.com. Before David recaps our choices from last week, during the break, I presented something to the commissioner. Willie Donick, who is en route to New York with the Predators. They play back-to-back Saturday, Sunday against the Islanders and Rangers. Willie did not turn in his picks before he left. In the live read he did for F&M Bank before he left, he mentioned, I got to get my picks in. According to David James, Willie Donick has not submitted his picks for this week. And if he does it later, that's fine. But this was my I'm not the one that can make the executive ruling.
Mhm.
This was my decision to Dave. If Willie Donick does not submit his picks for this week by the time our show goes off the air in roughly 10 minutes, he will lose the quarter point that David gave him in our yellow/green Gatorade argument of a couple of weeks ago. Willie will lose that 0.25 if he does not get his pick in within the next 10 minutes. David, what say you?
I agree.
Okay. That's fine. All right. So, Willie, you're on the clock, my friend. You're probably not hearing this because you're probably on an airplane, but you, my friend, are on the clock. Don't say we didn't warn you, David. Let's go over our selections from last week.
Yeah, I mean, we can't. There's no way for us to warn us because he actually said it. So, again, like you just said. And so, first and foremost, boys, let me start with Adam. Adam, you said the Texas A&M Aggies would win over Tennessee. That did not happen. You said Houston over Iowa State. That did happen by 7.5. You said Alabama plus 8.5. Alabama did win by 8.5. And SMU over Clemson. SMU did not beat Clemson. So you got a total of 6 points for 137 total points.
Okay.
Now let's go to D-Mace. D-Mace, you took over Adam's points last week. Now let's see if he did it again this week. Your picks were UT beats Texas A&M. That did happen. You said Chaz over 17 points. He had 30 points. You said Vandy would win and Kentucky covering 8.5. And Vandy did win and Kentucky did not cover. You had 9 points.
Yes.
For a total of 141 total points.
Still in the lead.
You still have the lead over Adam. Adam, I'm sorry. I'm trying to help you out here,
it's
man.
Okay. I've been, look, ever since Will Levis got benched and I couldn't predict him turning the ball over every week, I haven't been hitting as well. I did have a good week for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you did.
I'm trying.
You've had some good weeks. Now let's go to Willie. Willie, he said Spartans would win. He said Nova would win. He said strikeouts per inning for Vandy against St. Mary's. And he said Texas A&M would win. Now, I think he went 9 for it because I have no idea what the strikeouts per inning.
I believe he got that correct.
He said he got it correct. So he got a total of 9 total points for 119.25 points. Now, me, I went 4 for 4, baby.
All right.
I went 4 for 4. I said the Grizzlies would win. They did against the Magic. I said the Tennessee versus Texas A&M game would go over 130.5 points. They did. They went 146. I said the Spartans go green,
go white,
win. And then I said Arkansas over Mizzou. I called that. That was my big one, and they did. Arkansas beat Mizzou.
All righty. So how many points do you have total?
That was 12 points. So I got 114 total points. I'm still behind, but I'm catching up to Willie.
You are catching up. So Derek, since you are in the lead, you go first with your selections this week.
All right. First, I'm gonna go with UT over Bama. I'm taking UT. Vandy over Mizzou. And who else? I got UK winning. And then the combine. Someone will beat or tie the 40-yard dash record.
Which is what?
4.22.
By whom?
Xavier Worthy, I believe.
Okay.
You think someone's
last
going to run faster than
I think the kid out of Texas. I think what the kid out of Texas.
Another
is gonna break
Texas
it.
guy
Yeah,
would
I
take
think
it?
Another Texas guy is going to break it. Yeah. So he either will break it or tie it.
Okay.
Now I should get some. Now if that happens, that should be a big one.
Well, David can always take in the degree of difficulty.
That's a high degree of difficulty.
That
right
is.
there.
Again, if it happens,
yeah,
I will grant you some points. We'll see.
All right. So those were Derek's picks for the week. I will go next. I am all college basketball again. So these are the lines I've seen so far. Auburn at Kentucky. Auburn -4.5 on the road at Kentucky. I will take Auburn in the points against the Wildcats. Alabama at Tennessee, a huge game for seeding in the NCAA tournament. I have Tennessee -3.5. I'm taking the Crimson Tide. The Crimson Tide need a big win. Give me Alabama on the road at Tennessee. I see Missouri as a 2.5-point favorite at Vanderbilt. I think this will be a tight game. I will take the Tigers in the points. I have not seen this line yet because this game is on Sunday. Big game in the Big Ten, Wisconsin at Derek's Michigan State. I'll take the Spartans. The Spartans are playing well. So give me the Spartans in that match.
We beat them already. Hey, let me clarify something because I didn't say. I just said UK would beat Auburn. Do I have to specify whether it's straight up or do they cover?
I mean, if you want to say cover, you can.
I think they cover. I think they cover.
Okay.
I'm picking UK in the points.
The points? Okay.
Yes,
there you go.
exactly.
Okay. Then
I just wanted to make it clear.
Good clarification.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, David, you're up.
All right. So, boys, I'm also going college basketball. Let me see. I gotta find. So Texas A&M versus Florida is this weekend. It's at 7:30 on SEC Network. I think that Texas A&M has a lot to prove. I think this is a big game for them. It is at Florida though, but I'm going Texas A&M over the Gators. I like the Memphis Grizzlies or the Memphis Tigers, not Grizzlies. The Memphis Tigers over UAB. I know so many Memphis on Sunday against UAB. I like the Tigers. Go Tigers, baby. Go Tigers, go. Can't forget about the go part. For Alabama versus Tennessee, again, it's so hard. I don't like either team. Both programs' fan base is just, ugh. But I am going to go with the over. I think the over, let me find it real quick, is, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to say Alabama beats Tennessee just because it'd be funny to see that. Funny because the Tennessee fans will go crazy. And I will choose go Vandy, anchor freaking down against the Mizzou Tigers. Go Vandy.
All right, Willie, you've got
You're on the
couple of
clock.
minutes, my friend.
Willie, you are on the clock.
You're on the clock. I'm looking to see here what the over-under for that game is, but I don't think I have time to find it. Before we go, Derek, we have one text that I do want to get to. We had a lot of talk at the beginning of the show about Shedeur Sanders. One texter says, do you think Deion regrets any of the things he's ever done or said in the distant past or recent past due to the fact that it is ultimately negatively affecting his son?
Listen, I'm speaking from if I was him, no, I wouldn't. Because my intentions were not to bring negativity onto my son. Whatever Deion speaks, I think he tries to speak life into his son. He tries to speak greatness into his son. So regardless of how you may react based upon that, shouldn't cause me to rethink what I'm doing if I truly believe in it. I think Deion believes in what he's doing. And as a parent, if I'm doing that, yeah, I believe, because I'm not harming my kid. I'm just speaking life to him. I'm telling you about my kid and who I believe he is. That's just speaking greatness into a person. That helps. So I don't think he would take anything back, and I don't blame him because I wouldn't.
I'm not going to criticize Deion Sanders for saying something he said before Shedeur Sanders was born. How would you have possibly known? But I understand the flash, the Coach Prime stuff. But this is who Deion Sanders is and has always been. This is not a new thing for Deion Sanders. Yeah. And his son has taken after him in some respects. We played the clips from the NFL Combine at the beginning of the show. The kid is confident, man. You can't knock him for that. You may not like it. You may feel it's undeserved, but the kid is unapologetically himself. If you don't want him to be the Titans quarterback because you're not sure he's a good quarterback, that's one thing. But I'm not going to knock him for having confidence. But that will do it for us this week. What a great week we all had. We hope that you had a great week with us. We will be back Monday at 11 o'clock. Willie, I'm sorry, my friend. Unless you hear this and get that text message on the plane through to David James before I stop talking, you're out a quarter of a point, my friend. Stillman and Company coming up next.
Be loved. Love on your people. I'm trying to give you a little bit more time, Willie. Have a blessed, safe, wonderful, not just Friday, but weekend. Willie, I hope you get it in as I say, peace.